Hi, I'm Tiffany Johannes with RE/MAX Executive and Charlotte Home Experts, and I have Lane Edwards with RE/MAX Executive and Charlotte Home Experts as well joining us tonight. He is a building expert, and so we are excited to have our market update tonight and also talk about the pros and cons of buying new construction. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, if you want to throw it in the chat, we'd be happy to answer them as we move along. Thank you. So tonight we are going to talk about what's happening in the market and how current events are impacting home sales. We're going to talk about our Charlotte area market, what's going on here as well as nationally. Then we get to the big part, the best part, the reason why Lane is here. We're going to talk about new home construction and what it is in Charlotte, how to get pre-approved for it, what the meeting process looks like and how to manage it with the roadmap. Then we're going to do talks about the final walkthrough and closing, what that entails, and then we'll ask if you have any questions. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have a lot of clients right now and friends asking, is this like the last time? And when I say the last time, we're talking about the Great Recession. And I don't know how many times a day I say, no, we're not there. Things are so different than they were back then. So let's talk about why they're different. A lot of clients are taking cash out refis and they're saying it's the highest it's been since the last financial crisis. Are we going to go into a recession? Are we going to see the market drop? What's happening? Well, when you look at the home equity piece cashed out, $321 billion was what we saw before the recession that started hitting in 2007. Then as we look in 2020, it's only $153 billion. That's a lot of money, $153 billion, but nowhere near that $321 billion we previously saw before the last crash. Mortgage credit availability. We all know it was running rampant back in 2006, 2007. You had no doc loans, no appraisals, all kinds of crazy things going on. Well, in today's market, the default risk in the mortgage market is so different. You see all of the red with the product risk that was out there with those no doc loans in the 1999 to let's say 2007 range. Well, then you look at how we tightened up. We got really tight in 2008, 2009. It hasn't really changed. It's actually gotten tighter from a mortgage standpoint. So everyone that's out there is getting a loan. And if you've gotten a loan previously, you can attest to it. It's tough. You've got a lot of rigorous standards to go through. So if you get through that process, you're less likely to default, and that's where that borrower risk is showing. It's pretty low compared to where it was previously. Mortgage credit availability, as I said, it's out there and available, but you can see even from 2020 pre-pandemic down to 2021, it's even tighter. So this is just a more close-up look at what we're looking at. We also had huge appreciations going into the Great Recession. As you can see, 2002 to 2005, you're 8.5 up even to 12.5. We're seeing those numbers, but over 2017 till today, it was more in the single digit range of 4.7, 4.8, and we did jump to 9.2 last year because there's a lot of pent-up demand. Single family housing units completed. Builders were building like crazy for a long time. Then it substantially dropped when the recession hit because builders couldn't build. They couldn't afford to, and buyers weren't buying. And so as we're looking at that and we're looking at the pieces, what we end up seeing is the single family houses, they're not as many, but they have been making an increase as we're looking at it. So we're going to continue to see that happen. Interesting enough, all of a sudden our slides are moving kind of slow or not at all. So we're having a loading issue. So I'm going to just start talking until this is addressed and kind of tell you a little bit more about my thoughts of what's happening in the market. Right now, from a single family housing units, we are seeing that the numbers go up in terms of percentages of what's happening. And so from a standpoint of where we are in the market today compared to where we were in 2006 or 2007, we've got interest rates at a great rate. We've got demand up. The inventory is so much lower. So we've got a lot going on there. And oh, look, our slides pop back. So let's kind of walk through this and we will take a look a little bit further at where we are. Sorry for that minor glitch, guys. And of course, it's taken a few more minutes, and so I'll continue on. With the interest rates where they are today, a lot of time buyers and sellers are looking at that market saying, oh, the rates are going up. But when you think about where the interest rates have been over the last years, even historically, we are at an all-time low. We have been lower than we have been. And so I'm not going to mess with this. So you're going to see my slides just so we don't mess up here any further. But the inventory that's out there, 2.1 months worth of inventory tied to the interest rates is really phenomenal when you think about what's happening today. So the inventory is not like the inventory we had back in 2007. It's a very low inventory. If you guys remember it all, there were neighborhoods that had 50 or 60 houses for sale during the Great Recession. If we have 1 or 2 houses available in a neighborhood right now, we're winning. We need to see more is what we're looking for. And more sellers probably should take advantage of such a heightened market if they're thinking about making a change in the near future. Home sellers and buyers had gotten used to, as I said, to these lower rates, and still 3.4 when you think, I always make this analogy, but my mother, when she bought her first house in the early 80s, I think her interest rate was 15%. I can't even fathom someone getting a 15% loan today, and I doubt you could either. When I bought my first house, and probably about the time Lane bought his first house, we were probably in the 7 to 8% range. That's still over double where we are. And when I moved to Charlotte, I think I was excited about getting a 5 to 6% interest rate 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think my first one was 7.6.
Okay, so we were right there.
And I thought that was good.
Yeah, and so did I. So as interest rates start ticking up a little bit, I don't think it's going to change buyer demand because it's so affordable to get a loan today compared to where we've been historically. And when you look at the cost of renting out there and paying someone else's mortgage and helping them increase their wealth and equity in their homes, the interest rate that you're paying and the wealth that you're building as a homeowner is huge. And we see a lot of first-time home buyers debating. And when they look at that mortgage payment and they look at what they're paying in rent, they realize that leap makes sense. And then it's how do we get them there? And there's a lot that goes into that. But we're going to continue to talk about what's going on in today's market. So the housing market in Charlotte, what's going on? Well, when you look at our market overall, there's a lot to see. So year over year, change in housing inventory across the country. We have hardly any inventory, 52% down across the country compared to this time last year. 52%, you heard me right. But get this, when we look at the 52% and the listings are kind of all over the board, Charlotte, days on the market, and what we're doing, it's way down, and inventory is crazy. Days on the market right now in Charlotte, 27 days. Last year, 47 days. When you look at March, which is our last month, it was 24 days last time and 46 the time before that. And so our numbers and what they're doing and shifting is really creating a lot of opportunity for sellers, and buyers are trying to figure out, how do I get a house? And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about the pros and cons of buying new construction, because new construction can be an incredible opportunity for a buyer that has a little bit of time or would like a new construction to get into the market, and it helps competition a little bit. I'm not saying that there's not competition out there, because there is, but we can look at how to move forward with that. So pending home sales, 2.9% year over year. That is very interesting when we look at what's happening in Charlotte. Pending home sales year over year, we're up about 15%. And people got a little bit scared as a pandemic came on last year. And so we're up 15%, even with inventory lower. What we've been doing for the last year since we came out of lockdown is buyers are eating up the inventory faster than the inventory can come around. And seller traffic continues to remain low. When you look at North Carolina and South Carolina over there, the light gray is weak and the dark gray is very weak. South Carolina, our upstate, is in need of inventory. When you look at homes in our Canopy region, which is the Charlotte region, we are down 70.2% compared to 2020. Yes, 70.2%. That is a huge number. 9,000 houses to 2,700 houses. So if you've been thinking about selling, this number should really get your mind going. If you want to talk to someone about the market, what's going on, Lane and I and our team are available to chat with you, because even if you're not thinking about making a change today, strategizing for what you're doing in the future, whether it be a few months out or a couple of years down the road, is always good.
Absolutely.
Your home is one of your biggest investments, and you want to make sure you make the right decision. So you ask, well, Tiffany, we've talked about the inventory, what's going on in the market. What about pricing? Everybody wants to know, what's my home worth? And you can get a valuation from us at no cost. We have ones that are done online, and we also have ones where we'll come into your home or do a virtual visit with you to look at the value of your home and give you an idea if that's something that you're interested in. Existing homes. In the South, it's up 13.6%. But if you look across the board, the U.S. is up 15.8%, and we have it broken out by region because you may or may not know, but Charlotte is one of the #1 regions where people are moving today.
Yeah.
New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Ohio, California, Florida, you name it. We have buyers and people moving into the area to get to know Charlotte because we have a fabulous place to live. And so those higher numbers across the regions are helping more people move to Charlotte. Average sales price. I know you guys are all waiting for this. We are up March over March, 17.7%. When you look at that year over year, 14.5%. That's a nice increase because as you can see, in 2019, we had increased 3.6 for the previous year. In 2020, it was 9.4%. We went from 281,207 as our average price in 2019 to 352,000 as our average price. And as you know, there are a lot of homes that are priced much higher than that in our market that are still selling at much more than you would ever think when we start looking at that appreciation that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Case-Shiller, the index, it is a national index. When you look at it, this is February and March, going from last year to this year. You can kind of see that stair step of where prices started increasing overall when you look at the 20-city composite. And 11.1% compared to last year was where they were in January. Case-Shiller kicks back about 2 months behind, so you can imagine what that's going to look like when they have the March information. Interest rates. We talked a little bit about this. In 2016, they were at about 3.6, 3.7. We've gone up to as high as, I think, about 4.8, and everyone thought we were going over 5. Then all of a sudden, look at that, dive down into 2021. We went from a 4.7 down to about a 2.8, I think was the lowest you see. A couple of people I know maybe got a 2.5, 2.6 rate on 30-year fixed interest rate, but it's going up. It is going up, but it's not going up enough to where maybe you shouldn't buy. Freddie, Fannie, Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Realtors, economists always predict numbers. You can see the second, third, fourth quarter and first quarter of 2022's rates here. Pretty much everyone is in that 3 to 3.32. When you look at next year and the beginning of 2022, they're still saying about 3.1. It's not 2.5, 2.6, but 3.1 is good when you think my mother got her best rate at 15% back in 1981. So what's happening with showings? I had a couple of clients recently say they thought the market was starting to get weakened or changed. And I said, well, why do you think that? And they said, well, a couple of houses have stayed on a few more days than they normally do. And I said, well, agents are changing their strategy and getting more people into the house so they have more opportunities for multiple offers. And so we're seeing that more often. And when you look at the showing trends here, when we look at the trend, you can see the orange line is 2021. We're at a higher number, of course, than we were back in 2019 and 2020. So we're continuing to peak up. So the showing and the interest is still there. It's just the availability of getting into homes. And in today's market, you really need to be pre-approved before you ever start going out. And you need to be ready to make an offer quick. So researching and understanding the market before your lease is due, before you want to buy or sell, is extremely important. And tonight, again, we're here to talk about the pros and cons of buying new construction, because that is a part of our market that we want you to better understand, because oftentimes you don't know what goes into new home construction and it scares people. And so we want to give you some advice. And we've got Lane Edwards here. He's on our team, member of RE/MAX Executive as well. But he started out building. He's a general contractor builder. He's had new home sales business as well. So he basically has had his lifelong interest has been in real estate, building, developing, and really helping consumers. So I thought it'd be great for him to kind of talk through his thoughts and to give us a little bit of insight as we move forward. As you can see, new home inventory is on the rise. We had a problem with shortage, but we're starting to see more and more opportunities pop up. We had a lot of challenges with COVID, or the builders did. And so now, as we're looking at some of the bigger builders and even some custom builders, there's some options and opportunities. New homes, you can see that inventory is continuing to go up. And that's what we need to see over the next few months in order to help buyers get into homes. New home sales is going to help us get to where we need to go in the marketplace so that the demand and supply is maybe a little more balanced, but we definitely need that supply to enter sooner than later. Here is Lane. I'm just going to see if I can pop into the presentation mode, I think. And of course, we're going to go all the way back through it, but we will get to Lane. So let's go.
Well, Tiffany, while you're doing that, it's great to be here. You know, I love talking about real estate, especially new home construction. And I love helping families. I love helping people find that next great home to enjoy and to live in and to call home. I love it. Absolutely love it.
And that's what I love about you. You have such a passion for helping people, and that knowledge and experience always goes a long way. So there's several different ways you can buy new homes. Tell us a little bit about that. We have the 1, 2, 3 here to make it a little bit easy. You got the ground up, the in progress, and the inventory. What does ground up mean?
First off, let me say one thing for this. There's basically 2 ways of new home construction. You know, there's the one way where you buy your own land, subcontract with someone to build your home. You know, that's a whole different animal. We're going to concentrate tonight on, you know, going to like a community, a neighborhood where there's either a fairly large regional builder or one of the large national builders. But ground up would be when you actually, you know, build from the ground up. You go in, pick out a plan, the structural features and things that you want, and you basically break dirt, and that's your house from the very beginning. You know, the second type would be a lot of builders build these larger builders in a neighborhood as they're building homes that are under contract with people from the ground up. They'll also squeeze in some people call them spec homes. We in the industry like to call them inventory homes because they're inventory, just like you know what Tiffany talked about earlier about inventory of homes that are out there for sale on the market. Same thing with builders. These are homes that are basically ready for somebody to come in, and as soon as it's finished, it'd be their house. And then you have the last home, like I said, the inventory, and those will be homes that are done. They've got the certificate of occupancy. They're ready for the homeowner orientation and ready to close. They're 100% complete.
That's great. And you have a new home buyer series that you've put out that I'm sure has some conversation about these different types of options, as well as if you chose to build custom, which we could come back and talk about another time, I think.
Yeah, that's a whole hour by itself. So absolutely.
So we put together this new home building process outline. Lane's going to kind of walk us through the process. So we're going to talk about pre-approvals, contracts and selections, pre-construction meetings, pre-drywall meetings, orientation and inspection, final walkthrough, and closing. So why don't we talk just a little bit to start with about pre-approval. Lane, tell me a little bit about what builders expect in the new home construction.
Yeah, pre-approval with new home construction is very similar to the way it is. Like if, we see a house that, me or Tiffany show you and that you're interested in, you want to move forward, have that pre-approval in hand is the first necessary step for a couple reasons. First off, not many of us check our credit and things, monthly. It's important to go in and speak with a mortgage lender about the pre-approval process. So that way, if there is something on your credit that needs to be addressed, you want to know as soon as possible so that you can take care of it. Secondly, on the pre-approval process, you want to know what your budget is, on the low end, what the top end, because, you don't want to go in a neighborhood where, let's say, they're building $600,000 to $700,000 houses, which, has just phenomenal features in them as far as design selections and different things. And your budget only allows you for, let's say, a $400,000 house or $450,000 house, because you will see a difference in that. So it's always best to speak with a mortgage lender first, and it can be anyone. The buyer can talk with whoever they're comfortable with, and we recommend a couple of them, and we've got some great ones that have done phenomenal jobs for clients of ours that we can help direct you to.
That is definitely right. And one of the things that Lane mentioned is you want to make sure that you're not just relying on something like a Credit Karma or
Right.
some other tool out there, because the way lenders do things are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
And even if you start using that credit calculator online or that mortgage calculator online to figure out what you qualify for, it might not take into account all the things that a lender is going to need to take into an account, particularly if you are a self-employed individual or own a business. That's something that comes up quite a bit. So doing this sooner than later is key right now.
And Tiffany, just like that we run into daily on showing people homes and making an offer. I mean, sellers require with that offer today for you to submit a pre-approval letter, to know that the buyer is serious and that they're pre-approved and that they can actually purchase the home. Builders are the same way. You're not going to move past step one with a builder as far as discussing plans and pricing and drafting contracts and things unless you have that pre-approval.
Right. There's no house if there's not a pre-approval.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
No house, no pre-approval.
So if we pick a house that is from the ground up or might not be to a certain level, can we pick out items? Should we go to a new home sales center by ourselves? What does that look like, Lane? I know that oftentimes there are all these signs and we might be driving around. Should we go in by ourselves to a new home sales center?
Absolutely not. Do not go in there without representation. Someone who knows the process, who knows the builder's contracts, how everything works, how the construction process works. Remember, Tiffany said it earlier, this is perhaps the largest investment you will make in your lives. And you absolutely need somebody standing right beside you, helping guide you through the process. And you got to remember, when you walk into that sales center, everyone you speak with is going to represent the builder. They're representing the builder's best interest. And I was a sales center associate for several years with a fairly large builder. And the training that we went through was just unbelievable. And these guys and, the men and women that work in these sales centers are extremely good salespeople. So you absolutely need someone with you to help guide you, advise you, to look after things. Remember, these builders' contracts, back when I was building, I was a custom builder. Between our contract, our scope of work, our specifications, and some of the first design selections that we had people make to be able to get started, that was almost 50 pages long. Depending on the house, it was somewhere between 40 and 50 pages long, and the majority of it was drafted by an attorney. So unless you're accustomed to reading these contracts and actually knowing what they mean, you need someone like me, Tiffany, someone on our team right beside you to be able to translate for you and to be able to look out for your best interests. Now, with regard to the second part of this, the design, that part, typically a builder in a neighborhood, one of your larger builders will have a portfolio of plans that they build in that community. There may be 8 plans, 10 plans, 12 plans, and then each plan will have 2, 3, 4 different elevations, because most likely in the covenants and restrictions and in the bylaws, a house cannot be built, like the same house cannot be built across the street from each other or side by side or catty corner. They'll protect so many lots around it. So, they might have one particular plan that folks love, is so that plan's not down the street. But with that being said, sometimes you'll ride in the neighborhood and you won't know. You may be on the street and that plan's been built 6 or 7 times, but it's used different elevations. So your first step will be, picking out a plan that you like. And with regards to that, there's a good chance the builder may have that plan, at least the floor plan, maybe a different elevation, being built in the neighborhood. Possibly will have one that's already finished that you can walk, so you can get a feel for the spaces, what the room layouts are, that sort of thing. Or if they are a large national builder, they may have one in a community that's, within the greater Charlotte area that we can go and visit. And I've done that a lot. We've had a neighborhood or a community where folks have want to be in, and so we'll go stay in another neighborhood.
Okay. As we're going to the new home sales center, you alluded to a little bit of the contract process and the selections. Right. You talked about elevations, Lane, and that's, of course, the exterior of the house. But then as you go through the contract selection, you get a little more detail. Tell us a little bit about what to expect on the contract and selection side of things.
Okay. Yeah, the contract is basically just what it says. It's going to be a contract between the builder and the client, on the whole building process. And it's typically it's a contract that's been written by their attorney, and there is very little leeway to change anything in it. They don't make addendums or write-ins. There'll be certain options that can be selected in the contract, but it's pretty straightforward. Then with regard to selections and design center things, typically a builder will have you sign a standard contract first, and then you'll go to the design center to make all of your selections. They purposely try to leave the paints and cabinets and countertops and light fixture packages, plumbing fixture packages, door hardware, shower hardware, bath accessories, flooring, those types of things out of the contract, so the contract is as clean as possible and deals with mainly the plan and any structural type things. They may have an option to add a sunroom or to be a third car garage or a bonus room, things like that. Mm-hmm. Structural items will be in the contract, but your design center selections will be excluded. Those will be a separate addendum attachment to the contract. And after the initial contract is signed, most builders try to get you into the design center as quick as possible, because they actually won't break ground until you've made all these selections.
Right. They've got to know what they're looking at. And Absolutely. There are some local builders that have several selections, like colors of cabinets, right, color of tiles, and things like that. But a lot of the builders do have a design center where you go and you pick out a lot of things, and it can take 2, 3, 4 hours plus to go through the process. So you want to make sure, if you're thinking about new construction and you're going to have that design center experience, go out there and start looking on Pinterest and other sites and other places to get a feel for what you like, the tile color combinations, the feel of the house, the types of cabinets, the color of the cabinets. Right. Those are all things that you can pick out when you are building from the ground up, whether it's custom or semi-custom. And a lot of our builders have a lot of options. So knowing what you like and don't like can help a lot in that process, is what I've found.
Absolutely. And Tiffany, you're exactly right. In the sales center or the model or the office, typically they will have a couple things that seem to be the most interest to a lot of clients, to a lot of buyers, like, a couple cabinet doors, some countertop selections, just a couple things, because, people will ask about that. So it's nice to have those right there handy.
Right. That is definitely true. And oftentimes clients ask my opinion on a lot of the options and a lot of the pieces. And so as you're going through that process, having a realtor handy can also help you stay in budget, because oftentimes we will look through and have the conversations and understand, is the design center like 20% of what you spent purchase-wise, 30%? What does that number look like? Because if we get through and we've spent 50%, you could have some issues with the appraisal and have to bring more money to closing. And so Lane and I have these conversations all the time with buyers about making sure we're staying in budget. So once we pick everything out, we might have to trim some things back. So make sure you know what's a must-have, what you'd really, really like, what you like, and what you'd be willing to do without. It was just kind of a nice to have when you get to that design center, because you're oftentimes going to have to look at it from a standpoint. You don't want to build a house and spend 50% more than all of your neighbors in the community for the same size house. So there's a little bit of back and forth sometimes at the design center. And it's always interesting to see everyone in that decision process trying to pick it out and finalize it at the end. But it's important that you have time and that you also are focused the day you go to your design center.
Tiffany, you are absolutely correct on that, 100% correct. I could not say it any better. The design center is great because they just have everything. I mean, just over the top, some of the things. And, most design centers will not give you a price right then and there. Some things they will. And depending on the builder, depending on the selections, they may say, give me a few minutes, I'll give you a price on that. But a lot of times, maybe a day or two before they'll get back with, the numbers for everything you selected. Because, in your basic contract with the builder, it's going to have standard, we don't like using that word standard. It's going to have included options, included features. You may have one or two countertops, but you go in the design center and there may be 15 different countertops. So, but Tiffany's absolutely right on everything she said there.
Yes. And so as you get through with that design meeting, you've put together everything, you've waited a couple of days, you're sure about it, you've signed off on what you want to have in your home. There are other important meetings that start to come up that your realtor goes with you to those appointments. There's a pre-construction meeting. Lane, tell me a little bit about that pre-construction meeting.
The pre-construction meeting is once you've signed the contract, you've made all your design selections, it's basically ready to start as soon as they can get it on schedule, get everything, At the same time, the builder's got a lot of things going on, permitting, scheduling, and, just about every builder nowadays uses some kind of online scheduling process where everything's coordinated. POs are sent to vendors and that kind of thing. But the pre-construction meeting is when we sit down with the builder, the project manager, or the site superintendent, whoever that designated individual that's going to be looking after the day-to-day operations of getting your home built the way you want it. And we'll be going through the plans, we'll be going through the contract, and that'll be an opportunity to ask questions about certain things. He'll tell us what to expect, and how the job will go. And a lot of builders nowadays will have an online portal as well, so that you can log in and you can see certain milestones or certain things were done, or maybe they'll upload a picture of hey, we got framed today, and there'll be a picture there, that sort of thing. So it's a great build. It's it can be fairly short or it can go long. But it's a great time to go through the plans, the contract, answer any questions you've got about the building process with the actual person that's going to be looking after the day-to-day process.
That is often an exciting meeting because it's been a few weeks usually, or it could be a little bit longer. Since you selected everything. You get the drawings back out. You look at where your light fixtures are going, where your ceiling fans are going, data ports might go, and just the layout of the house to make sure the structural items, is it all there? Is it what you expect? Because they certainly don't want to start and then realize they had the wrong drawing or had something wrong. And that's why it's important to have your realtor with you to make sure that attention to detail is throughout. The next step is the pre-drywall meeting.
I'm sorry, Tiffany, but yeah, that is a great meeting. The pre-drywall meeting, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on at that point. The house is framed, the roof's on, doors and windows are set. Maybe the exterior, whether it's siding, brick, stone, stucco, what have you, is maybe started, may not. Your electrical rough ends has been done, and that means, Tiffany alluded to just a second ago, your ceiling lights, recess lights, fans, data ports, TV wires, outlets, all of that's been roughed in, the wires run, and typically it's been inspected. The electrical inspection has been completed, and your HVAC, your heat and air system, all of that's been roughed in. So you'll see where the vents are, where the return, the air supply are located, where the unit's going to be placed, and also your plumbing will be roughed in. You'll see where the sink vanities will be, where the your tubs, if it's a shower pan, will all be in place. Your kitchen will be any type of water line fixture, hot water heater, anything plumbing related, toilets, showers, tubs will all be roughed in at that point, and you'll see exactly where they're located. And then also, if it's right before the drywall, will be insulated, so it'll be ready to actually hang sheetrock. I usually tell people, whether it's a meeting that we have scheduled with the builder or we do it by ourselves, is that we actually go out and you video all of this kind of rough in, walk through, with your phone or a camera, and videotape it. So that way, in the future, if you're going to hang a fixture or do a cut in the wall, or need to go in the wall for something, or what have you, you can pull up that video and you'll see that, hey, there's a bundle of wires that run there. Or, hey, my heat and air, there's a ductwork or something that's in the wall. There's a plumbing line right there, a wastewater line, something like that. So it's always good to have that on file. So,
it definitely is. You made a great point there.
Absolutely.
Knowing what the pipes look like behind your walls, that's one of the great things about new construction from the ground up. So once you get past that, and the other thing I like about pre-drywall is you kind of get a feel for the layout. You're walking through. It always feels a little bit different than it does once the drywall's up, but
Tiffany, you're exactly right. People, the size of your home that's being built is going to change probably a half a dozen times or so during the course of construction. You go out there when the footings are dug, and that's where you dig down in the dirt, in the earth, and the concrete footings are done, and you're going to look at it because it's much wider than an actual wall is, and you go, God, this house is small. When it's framed and you walk in and you can see all the way through it, from one corner to the other, you're going to say, wow, this is big. And then when it starts closing in, that's when you get that feeling exactly like what Tiffany said. You get an idea, okay, this is our family room. Here's our kitchen. This is our bedroom. I get it now. We're gonna place the bed on that wall. We're gonna place the sofa there. The table's gonna go here. That kind of thing. So that's always exciting.
Yeah, and if you're buying a home that's currently under construction or already planned by the builder, which was called that inventory or spec home, you may still get to go through the pre-construction or the pre-drywall meeting. It just depends on how far along it is.
Right.
But you most definitely will get the inspection and the orientation. So tell me a little bit about that and why it's important to even have a home inspection, Lane.
Absolutely. We recommend with every home, townhome, condo, new home construction, to get a home inspector, and we have several great ones that we deal with daily, and have them come in and do an inspection for us. Now, your home, depending on where it's built, what municipality it's built in, whether it's Mecklenburg, Union, Cabarrus, in Charlotte, or just in the county, different places, they're going to have their municipal inspection department, the building inspector, like is referred to, and they're going to do their inspections along the way. And depending on the kind of house that's being built, and the things that go into it, you may have upwards of 20 inspections by the municipal building inspector. But we always like to have our inspector, and when I say our, I'm talking about yours and ours, to go in and have a great look and test out everything. Once again, it falls into the category of looking out for your best interest. And used to be in the olden days, back when I was building, a lot of builders didn't look favorably upon the buyer having their own inspector come in. But nowadays, a lot of builders, they may limit some of the things they do from the inspector, like some cosmetic things like paint, things which, we take care of in our walkthroughs. But most of the time, they're very receptive to it if it's done at the appropriate time. And that's where, someone like me or Tiffany right beside you, we're able to deal with the on-site superintendent or on-site project manager to be able to coordinate it at the appropriate time. So
that is definitely key. And once you have that inspection, you have the new home orientation, and hopefully you've already given the builder the inspection at that point so that they can talk through it and already maybe have trades lined up. Tell me a little bit about how the new home orientation goes, when it is, and how that works, because a lot goes into that particular meeting.
Absolutely. Homeowner orientation is just an absolute great day because typically at that point, we are 100% complete. If there was anything on the inspection report that the builder needed to address, they've taken care of it. The on-site superintendent has gone in there and done his checklist, his inspections. A lot of builders nowadays don't realize, or a lot of clients don't realize, a lot of buyers don't realize that most of your larger builders nowadays, they actually have a quality department within their company. And this person will go out and he or she will inspect 4, 5, 6 homes a day just for that builder. Now, they'll do it at different phases throughout the building process, but at the very end is when they really pick it apart. I went back to work for a regional builder for a couple of years, and we had just a phenomenal guy. There was nothing that got past him.
Wow.
He had a checklist, and I've still got it to this day. Had 300 items on it that he would check during his inspection process. And the thing that you got to remember, or the thing you may not know about this, is that most of your on-site builders that are looking after the construction of your home, part of their bonus program is tied into these inspections. And they must meet a certain level on these inspections, get a certain grade, so to speak, to be able to be eligible for their bonuses. And so it's in their best interest to build a great home. And that will show up in that homeowner orientation process. And the homeowner orientation process is not a time that we're going to go through and pick apart anything. We've already done that. All that stuff's been corrected. This is the time where the builder will walk us through and show us, in particular you that's going to be living there day in, day out, where things are. Your water spigots, cutoffs for any plumbing fixtures in case something happens. You need to cut water off. They show you how everything works, how your heat and air system works. Keys, doorways, access, your yard, drainage, just any features that need to be shown to you about your home. So that's a great day because that means we are getting close to closing. We're getting close to getting those keys. So
yes, and oftentimes you almost have kind of that double orientation process because you go that one day, get a lot of information.
Right.
You're talking about that punch list that the inspector had, and the builder probably has because they've had their QC people in, their quality people. And then you're probably blue taping it at a certain point, or you are blue taping it to make sure that if you're looking at it, there are no flaws in the cosmetic ends of things in your cabinets and your ceilings and your walls, your trim work, doors. You're just walking through to make sure it's a home you're ready to move into. And Lane did an incredible job of sharing that process.
Yeah, absolutely. That that is our last time where we're with the builder, the on-site superintendent prior to closing to raise any questions or concerns about anything, or for us to point out anything that maybe needs attention or to have explained to us. At
Right.
that time, typically too, they're going to reinforce the warranty process, where if something needs to be fixed or worked on or corrected or needs attention, they're going to reinforce that, which, we will have gone over that previously, but he will reinforce the process of how you go about submitting for someone to come out and have a look at something that you think needs attention. So
Right. And once you get through that entire process, you have that final walkthrough, usually just a short period of time before you're going to the closing table to close on your new home.
absolutely. We used to always shoot for 7 to 10 days out to have. We would do our, we always did 2 walkthroughs. We would do one to blue tape and that sort of thing about 2 weeks out, and then usually about 7 days out we would do that homeowner orientation, which was, at that point it should have just been kind of a walkthrough to everyone ooh and ah about their wonderful home that was been built, how great the process was, how easy it was, and how much they're looking forward to, next Wednesday at 3:00, sitting down and getting their new keys.
Right. I see that. And I see in some cases all the way up until the morning of closing, just depending
Absolutely.
on client schedule and the builder schedule as well. But definitely you want to have all smiles and everyone is happy going to the closing table at this point.
Sure.
The one thing I'll say is when you're doing a build process, you don't really want to see anything left undone. And so if there is something undone, you typically put off closing because you want the builder to take care of it prior to. Right. Afterwards can happen as long as you have it in writing, but I will tell you from experience, it's not as easy to get something resolved after closing as it is before closing. So always focus on getting everything you want to get done, and smiling, walking out of that final walkthrough.
Tiffany, you're exactly right there. I mean, I used to tell people all the time that, tell me one thing that you go out and you pay full price for, and, that it's not completed. It's, that's the time. And Tiffany is exactly correct there that, I've seen closings pushed back a couple of days because either something happened or something just wasn't the way it should be. So,
okay. The one thing I love about closing on new construction is often you get the keys at the closing table as long as all of your funds and all your lender's funds are there. And that doesn't always happen in North Carolina. And in South Carolina, it does to some degree. But in North Carolina, it's a big deal to be able to get your keys, and your moving truck's going to be pulling up soon.
Absolutely. I've, I can't tell you how many times that the moving truck was literally sitting on the street where the house that we were building was, and the driver asking me, "What time are you guys closing today?" kind of deal. Here's my phone number. Call me when it's closed. kind of deal. So
yes, and it's always a great time. So closing is the official, and then the warranty kicks in on your house. And oftentimes, as Lane said, you've gone through the warranty, you get a book. Today, we see a lot of it online and a lot of the warranty piece online, but your realtor is there to hold your hand, not just to the closing finish line, but thereafter to make sure that the builder's done everything they said they would do, that they continue to follow up and take care of things, and to check in with you. Because often after closing, there are going to be some checkpoints that the builder does. It might be 30 or 60 days. It might be 12-month walkthroughs, but there's some other things that happen, and your realtor is always going to help you. So engage them and really focus on activating any questions you have through that process.
You're exactly right, Tiffany. And depending on the builder, some of them may have, like Tiffany said, a 30-day check-in just to make sure everything's okay. Some of them may have 60 days. Some may wait until the year end, like month 11 for things, and just rely on you to contact their warranty department if anything ever breaks or needs to be fixed, or that sort of thing. They have people that handle that for the builders. So, and that's where somebody like us comes in handy, and we can help you understand that process, depending on which builder it is. And so we can go through the documents, and let's say it is an 11-month walkthrough, and the builder relies on you to contact them when you're ready for it. We'll have a mark on our calendar that's, hey, the Smiths, it's 11 months.
Right.
We need to contact the builder so we can arrange to have our list, our walkthrough with them to just check in with them. So.
That's true. Definitely. So as we're looking at new construction, you always want to find a guide, someone who has the ability to help point you in the right direction, to help guide you and counsel you. Lane is an expert in new construction. He's also an expert in resale. Right now, the market's really competitive, and you need that expert to guide you through. And we talked a lot about new home construction today, the pros and the cons, but we could go on and on for days about what's important in new construction. So if you're thinking about new construction, reach out to us for a consultation to see if it's the right move for you and what strategies we can offer to get you there.
Absolutely.
We want to make you stand out from the crowd. We want to make sure that we're making a difference for you. One of the things I wanted to mention, or Lane and I both wanted to mention as we're wrapping up, oftentimes when you have to sell a home or you're in today's market, you're trying to figure out how to navigate that. And whether it's with new construction or not, Ribbon and Knock, we're Ribbon and Knock certified, give buyers a leg up and sellers an opportunity to buy a house before they sell their house. So if that interests you, whether it be new construction or not, don't hesitate to reach out to us because it provides for a much smoother process and can oftentimes save a lot of pain as you go through the construction and new home process or even the resale process.
Absolutely. Tiffany, you're exactly right. There's Knock and Ribbon can kind of set you apart from some of the other buyers out there on a particular property, and they do also deal with new construction. So they're great programs, and we'd love to talk with you about them.
Right. That's just a tad of information, but there's so much more they can do. So if you're thinking about selling, but you want to buy first, but it doesn't quite work out math-wise, these two programs could be your key. So ask us about that.
Absolutely.
Instant offers. Just wanted to mention this too before we wrap it up. There are so many groups out there, from OfferPad to Zillow, Open Door, and they're offering you money for your house. You need to be careful as you're looking at those instant offers, because oftentimes we can get you more in the fair market and we can do it at less of an inconvenience to you than you think. So if you're thinking about selling, don't just go with an instant offer. Make sure you check the fees, you understand the language regarding repairs, and you talk to a realtor, because it's going to be key in making sure you have representation and that it makes sense for you. You want to look at all your options when you go to sell, because there's not just one component. There's a lot that goes into it.
Right.
So what's your plan? What's your next house? We're here to help you, and we really appreciate you taking the time tonight. We look forward to helping you create your future, because we know the housing market can be challenging. It can be something that you don't do that often, but we do it every day. So we're here to really help and guide you. So tonight we were going to really just talk about what's happening in today's market, overview the Charlotte area market and what's going on, do the new home construction overview, which I think Lane rocked it, talking about pre-approval and what you do with that, the different roadmap meetings that you have along the way, what that final walkthrough and closing is, and then were there any questions? Adela, I'm not sure I see any questions out there. I think we must, Lane, that means we did a great job, but I'm sure you guys might have some questions. So if you do and you're just a little shy of asking them online, don't hesitate to reach out to Lane Edwards or myself, Tiffany Johannes, with RE/MAX Executive and Charlotte Home Experts. We're here to assist you and here to help you really make a difference as you step up or you purchase your first home. The pros and cons of buying a new construction home are out there, and we presented them tonight, and we'd love to share more with you. Thanks so much. And if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel or hit like below, we would certainly like that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lane, for joining me tonight.
Tiffany, it's absolute my pleasure, and I absolutely loved it. And anyone out there, this market is a wonderful market. I grew up in Charlotte. I've been here all my life. It's just got so much to offer, and all the communities in the area, there, parks and great schools, and just access to so many things. I mean, it's a great place. So we'd love to help any of you. And even if it's just general questions about the market or anything specific, our team's here to help, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Lane. Have a good night, guys.
All right.